So this past Saturday was a double feature Saturday as I decided to watch two movies in the theater that day. The first of which was A Quiet Place Day One. This was a prequel to the first two Quiet Places, two movies where the in-theater experience is surreal. You're talking about a couple movies where it's just silent throughout, and within the movie, if the characters make a sound, you're dead within seconds. These are two movies I've definitely enjoyed, although I haven't watched repeatedly. I've seen part one twice, once in theaters when it came out and once at home, and I've saw part two once in theaters when it came out in 2021. Day one is what it suggests. It's the start of the whole collapse of the world as the meteor hits, aliens emerge, and chaos ensues. All this was kind of shown in A Quiet Place Part 2, the flashback. This time the setting is New York City, and we follow someone dealing with cancer, played by Lupita Nyong'o. Now, a lot of the mystery and intrigue about the first film was what exactly was the threat here. Was it supernatural, sci-fi, religious? The creatures weren't really shown in any of the trailers. Obviously, the mystery by this point is gone for this film, but that doesn't mean the general concept doesn't still work here. It's still a special, surreal movie experience where what so much is going on is quiet, and the moment that any of the characters make a sound in the movie, you realize that that character is f***ed. The creatures are still horrifying. The way they move and the nature about them is just next level terrifying. Much of this world is reminiscent of what was seen in the Last of Us video games and of course the show. The world is still fun in that respect, although given how this is literally day one of all this going on, I found it very unrealistic that everyone was immediately able to pick up that if you don't make a sound, you'll be okay. But how the hell were they able to figure this all out so quickly? This is New York City, population 1 million and whatever. And amidst all of this chaos, people are able to pick up that quickly that if you don't make a sound, you'll be okay. I found it to be incredibly unrealistic, and it had me and my entire auditorium collectively saying, bullshit. Even dumber than this is that somehow on this day one, everyone knowing that silence is the key to survival, they all collectively decide to take a walk through the streets of New York to reach a goal. And this is like hundreds of people walking at once, which even obviously if no one's attempting to make any noise, just the collective force of everyone walking together is going to alert these creatures, which guess what? It does. Unlike parts 1 and 2, I didn't really care much for the characters here. We see Lupita Nyong'o's character and she's dealing with some stage of cancer. Her character obviously isn't in a great place that we see at the start of the movie. She isn't really in a happy state of mind, and that's natural. All she really cares about is her support cat. Lupita gives a great performance, as she always does, and man does she look run down in this movie, though obviously that's intentional here. But there's just really not much to the character to attach to, and she really does make some odd decisions even in the context of dealing with cancer and needing medication. She comes across someone who's dealing with apparent panic attack issues, and the two end up working together. Although for every moment that he helps her out, he definitely has a few moments where he screws her over. Even more dangerous than the creatures in this film is that support cat. Now that cat, it's a cute cat, and it has moments where it's doing its job, being supportive. But it does have a lot of moments where it seems like it's teaming up with the creatures and trying to lure these characters to their doom. There's at least 5-ish occasions in this movie where it's like, wow, that goddamn cat's gonna get y'all fucked. It's a short movie. It's talking about an hour and 40 minutes with credits, so that means the real runtime is more like an hour and 30 minutes. This movie has got to have one of the most underwhelming climaxes I've ever seen for a movie like this. There's zero buildup, zero momentum. There's a final chase that happens towards an objective, and then you realize, oh, that was the climax? And shortly the movie ends after that. Everyone in the auditorium, including me, was like, wait, what? That was it? It's a movie that had its moments and obviously delivering on the concept people enjoyed about parts 1 and 2, but the overall package was fairly underwhelming for me. So 5.5 out of 10 for A Quiet Place Day 1. Besides the whole opening meteor crash, the whole day one concept thing was borderline false advertising. You could easily rearrange some of the stuff in this movie and it could take place at the same times that parts 1 and 2 do. Afterwards, I decided to check out Inside Out 2 again. It was its third week of release, and this movie is still great. This is my second time watching the film, and I was able to appreciate the things that make it a special story. But man, this concept of showcasing the workings of the inner mind combining with top-notch Pixar writing make this movie a special watch. You know, the journey from the emotions from the first film to get back to headquarters will still be highly entertaining for kids, but it's all the stuff with the new emotions taking over Riley, which is where its things are just so smartly written and, more importantly, very realistic. I talked about in my review how I love the whole scene of how secrets are kept. Well, equally as great is the scene where Joy tells Fear, Disgust, and Anger to basically go themselves after she's tired of all their whining throughout their journey. Without spoiling the film, I think the true whoa moment of the film is when anxiety finally takes over Riley towards the end. Just the quote that plays repeatedly in her head, and when we see it take a physical toll on her in a very uncomfortable fashion, and plus what things look like on the inside of her mind, truly special stuff. So the movie is still a 9 out of 10 for me. I still feel comfortable where I put it in my recent Pixar ranking video, but it's one of those movies that might continue to move up the list with repeated viewings. It's that great, it's that special. All this has been reflected in the film's box office performance, which has just been next level spectacular. We're talking about on pace to become the highest grossing animated film ever in the US, unadjusted for inflation, but also it's been the fastest animated film ever to cross 1 billion worldwide. Just spectacular numbers for Inside Out 2. And as I said in my review for the film, it's not only the kind of box office performance that Pixar really needed after their pandemic era films, it's the kind of box office performance that Disney as a whole desperately needed after what 2023 had to offer for them. It should be noted that A Quiet Place Day One also did very well at the box office this weekend, coming in at second place behind Inside Out 2, but still having over 50 million. So this shows that this is a concept that people still really enjoy, and that'll likely lead to another installment, whether it takes place in the whole Day One era or an actual sequel to A Quiet Place Part 2. So 2 movies that both did very well this weekend. So that'll do it for these reviews of A Quiet Place Day 1 and my second viewing of Inside Out 2. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.